Have you ever noticed how the smartest investors in the world suddenly start talking about gold and silver right before everything changes? It happened in 2008, it happened in 2020, and right now in 2025 it is happening again. But here is what most people miss. They think gold and silver are just shiny metals that rich people collect. They could not be more wrong. These metals are actually screaming a message at us, a warning, and if you understand what they are trying to tell you, you might just save yourself from financial disaster while everyone around you loses everything. Let me tell you something that took me decades to truly understand. Money is not what you think it is. You wake up every morning. You go to work. You earn dollars or euros or whatever currency your country uses. You believe that money in your bank account is real wealth. But that is an illusion, a very convincing illusion that keeps most people trapped their entire lives. Here is the truth. The cash in your wallet is just paper. The numbers in your bank account are just digits on a screen. They only have value because we all agree they have value, because the government says they have value. But what happens when that agreement starts to crack? What happens when governments print so much money that the agreement becomes a joke? This is where gold and silver come into the story. And this is where everything gets interesting. Think about this for a moment. Gold has been considered valuable for over 5,000 years. Every major civilization in human history has recognized gold as wealth. The Romans, the Chinese dynasties, the British Empire. Why? Because gold cannot be printed. It cannot be created out of thin air by some central banker pressing a button on a computer. There is only so much of it on Earth, and it takes real work and real resources to dig it out of the ground. Silver is the same. For most of human history, silver was actually used more than gold for everyday transactions because it was more abundant and more practical. People called it the money of the people, while gold was the money of kings. Now fast forward to today. We live in a world where central banks can create trillions of dollars with a few keystrokes. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, they have printed more money in the last 15 years than in the entire previous history of their existence. Just stop and think about that. More money created in 15 years than in centuries before. When I look at financial markets, I do not just see numbers going up and down. I see patterns. I see cycles that repeat throughout history because human nature never changes. And one pattern I have seen over and over again is this: when governments print too much money, when debt gets too high, when people start losing faith in the system, gold and silver start rising. Not because they become more valuable, but because paper money becomes less valuable. Right now, gold is near all-time highs. Silver has been quietly climbing, but most people are not paying attention. They are too busy watching stocks or crypto or real estate. They are missing the signal. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you are on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Everything seems fine. The sun is shining. The water is calm. But there is one person on the boat who keeps checking a barometer, that instrument that measures air pressure. And that person sees the pressure dropping fast. They know what is coming, a storm, a big one. While everyone else is relaxing and enjoying the sunshine, this person is preparing. Gold and silver are like that barometer. They measure the pressure in the financial system. And right now, they are telling us something important. They are telling us that the calm we see on the surface is temporary, that underneath, massive forces are building, forces that could change everything about how we think about money and wealth. You see, throughout history, there has always been a tension between two types of money, real money and fake money. Gold and silver are real money. They are tangible. limited, impossible to fake. Paper currency is fake money. It is only worth something because a government with guns says it is worth something. And here is the pattern. Every time in history when governments have abused their power to print fake money, real money eventually wins. Always, without exception. The Roman Empire debased their silver coins until the empire collapsed. The German Weimar Republic printed so much money that people needed wheelbarrows full of cash to buy bread. More recently, Venezuela and Zimbabwe printed themselves into complete economic destruction. The United States and Europe are not Venezuela. Not yet, but they are moving in a direction that should concern anyone who understands history. The debt levels are astronomical, the money printing has been relentless, and gold and silver are starting to reflect this reality. When you understand what is really happening, you start to see the world differently. You stop trusting the surface level narratives that everyone else believes. You start asking deeper questions, and those questions lead you to uncomfortable truths that most people never want to face. Let me share something with you. Back in 1971, something happened that changed money forever. But almost nobody talks about it today. President Nixon made a decision that severed the last connection between the US dollar and gold. Before that moment, countries could exchange their dollars for actual gold. After that moment, the dollar became purely a promise, a piece of paper backed by nothing except trust in the US government. At first, nothing seemed to change. People kept using dollars. The economy kept growing. But quietly, invisibly, something fundamental had shifted. The government now had unlimited power to create money, and they used that power. Oh, did they use it? In 1971, the entire U.S. national debt was about $400 billion. Today, it is over $35 trillion. That is not a typo. 35 trillion. And it grows by another $1 trillion roughly every 100 days now. Think about that speed. Think about what that means. But here is what is even more important. It is not just about the United States. Japan has debt that is over 250% of their entire economy. Europe is drowning in debt. China has hidden debt problems that could make the 2008 financial crisis look small. The entire global financial system is built on a foundation of debt and printed money. And that foundation is starting to crack. This is why gold and silver matter right now more than ever. They are not investments in the traditional sense. They are insurance. They are protection. They are a lifeboat when the ship starts sinking. I have studied financial crises for my entire career. I have seen them up close. I have lived through them. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that most people are never prepared. They always think it cannot happen to them. They always believe the system is stable, right up until the moment it is not. In 2008, people thought the banking system was safe. Then Lehman Brothers collapsed, and suddenly everyone realized the emperor had no clothes. Trillions of dollars in wealth vanished almost overnight. People lost their homes, their savings, their retirements. And the ones who survived best were the ones who had prepared, the ones who understood that paper wealth can disappear, but real assets hold their value. Gold went from around $800 an ounce before the crisis to over $1,900 in the years after. Silver moved from $9 to nearly $50 at its peak. Why? Because people suddenly remembered what real money looks like when fake money is in crisis. Now look at what is happening today. We have inflation that is eating away at purchasing power faster than wages can keep up. Your dollar buys less every single month. Your savings account is actually losing value even though the numbers stay the same because everything costs more. This is not an accident. This is the natural consequence of printing too much money. But governments will never tell you this directly. Instead, they change how they measure inflation to make it look smaller than it really is. They tell you the economy is strong, even as regular people struggle to afford groceries and rent. They keep printing and spending and promising that everything will be fine. And most people believe them because they want to believe them, because the alternative is too scary to think about. Here is what I want you to understand. You have a choice right now. You can keep playing the game by the old rules, keep your wealth in paper currency and paper assets, and hope that the system holds together. Or you can look at what gold and silver are telling you and take action to protect yourself. I am not saying you should put everything into precious metals. That would be foolish. Diversification is always important. But I am saying that if you have zero exposure to gold and silver right now, you are taking a massive risk. You are betting everything on the continued stability of a system that is showing clear signs of stress. Think about the wealthy families who have preserved their wealth across generations. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, old European aristocracy. What do they all have in common? They hold significant amounts of gold. They understand something that most people do not. They understand that gold is not about making money. It is about keeping money. It is about wealth preservation across time. Silver has an additional dimension that makes it even more interesting. Unlike gold, which is primarily a monetary metal, silver is also an industrial metal. It is used in solar panels, electronics, medical equipment, electric vehicles. The demand for silver in industry is growing rapidly while the supply is relatively limited. This creates a unique situation where silver could potentially outperform gold in the coming years. But here is the key insight. Whether gold goes to $3,000 an ounce or $5,000 or $10,000 is not really the point. Whether silver goes to $50 or $100 is not really the point. The point is that when paper currencies lose value, these metals hold their purchasing power. They have done this for thousands of years, and they will continue to do this. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. In 1920, a good quality men's suit cost about $40. At that time, $40 was roughly 2 ounces of gold because gold was trading around $20 per ounce. Now fast forward over 100 years to today, a good quality men's suit still costs about 2 ounces of gold. Gold is around $2,000 per ounce, and a nice suit costs roughly $4,000. Do you see what happened there? The purchasing power of gold stayed exactly the same across a century. But if you had kept that $40 in cash from 1920, it would buy you almost nothing today. Maybe a cheap shirt if you are lucky. This is the power of real money versus fake money. Gold maintained its value. Paper currency got destroyed by inflation over time. And this pattern repeats throughout history in every country and every era. Now I want to address something important. Many people will tell you that gold and silver are old-fashioned. They will say we live in a digital age. That cryptocurrency is the future. That precious metals are relics of the past. And I understand that perspective. I really do. But here is what those people are missing. Cryptocurrencies are interesting. Some of them may have a future. But they are also completely dependent on technology, on electricity, on the internet, on exchanges that can be hacked or shut down by governments. Gold and silver require none of that. They are physical, tangible. They have survived every crisis in human history. They do not depend on any system or technology or government to have value. During the worst moments in history, when everything else failed, gold and silver still worked. During wars, during depressions, during hyperinflation, during the collapse of empires, people with gold and silver could buy food, could protect their families, could preserve their wealth, and start over when things stabilized. I am not against cryptocurrency. I think blockchain technology is revolutionary, but I also think it is incredibly naive to believe that digital currency alone can protect you in a real crisis. You need both. You need diversification across different types of assets, including some that are physical and proven across thousands of years of human history. Right now, we are living in a moment that future historians will write about. They will look back at this era and ask how people could not see what was coming, how they could not understand the signals. The warning signs are everywhere if you know how to read them. Central banks around the world have been buying gold at record levels. China has been accumulating gold aggressively. Russia has been stockpiling gold. Even countries like Poland and Hungary that were not traditionally big gold buyers are now building up their reserves. Why? Because these nations understand that a shift is coming in the global monetary system. They are preparing for a world where the US dollar may not be the dominant reserve currency anymore. This is massive. The dollar has been the world's reserve currency since World War II. Almost every international transaction goes through dollars. Every country needs dollars to buy oil and other commodities. This gives the United States enormous power and privilege, but that privilege is being abused through excessive money printing and debt accumulation. And other countries are getting tired of it. They are starting to trade with each other in their own currencies. They are forming alternative payment systems. They are moving away from dollar dependence. And as they do this, they are buying gold as a neutral asset that no single country controls. When I look at these trends, I see the writing on the wall. The current monetary system is living on borrowed time. It might last another 5 years, it might last 10, it might even last 20, but it will not last forever. Nothing built on infinite debt and infinite money printing ever does. History has taught us this lesson over and over again. So what should you do? Let me give you practical advice. Not theory, not abstract ideas. Real actionable steps you can take starting today. First, educate yourself. Really educate yourself about how money works, about monetary history, about what causes inflation and currency crisis. Read books. Study past financial crises. Understand the difference between wealth and currency. This knowledge is more valuable than any single investment you could make. Second, start acquiring some physical gold and silver, not paper gold, not gold stocks or gold ETFs, actual physical metal that you can hold in your hand. Start small if you need to. Even a few silver coins or a small gold coin is better than nothing. Build your position over time. Dollar cost average if that makes sense for your situation. Third, think about where you keep your wealth. If everything you own is in one bank account, in one currency, in one country, you have concentration risk. Diversify across different asset classes, different currencies, different jurisdictions if possible. Do not put all your eggs in one basket, especially when that basket is showing cracks. Fourth, reduce your debt. In a crisis, debt becomes a killer. It forces you to keep earning currency to make payments even when that currency is losing value rapidly. The less debt you have, the more options you have, the more freedom you have to navigate whatever comes next. Fifth, build skills and relationships. In the end, your ability to create value for others is your greatest asset. Your network of trusted people is invaluable. These things cannot be taken away by inflation or currency crisis. They travel with you wherever you go. And finally, stay calm. Do not panic. Do not make emotional decisions. The people who do best in crisis are the ones who prepare in advance and then execute their plan with discipline when everyone else is losing their minds. The thing about major financial shifts is that they happen slowly, then all at once. For years, everything seems stable. People get comfortable. They assume tomorrow will look like today. And then suddenly, in a matter of weeks or even days, the world changes completely. The currency that seems solid collapses. The investments that seem safe evaporate. And people who thought they were wealthy discover they were only holding paper promises. I have seen this pattern play out in different countries and different contexts throughout my career. It always follows the same arc. Excessive debt accumulation, money printing to manage that debt, inflation that starts slow and then accelerates, loss of confidence in the currency, and finally, a scramble for real assets as people realize their paper wealth is disappearing. We are somewhere in the middle of that arc right now. The debt has been accumulated. The money has been printed. Inflation has arrived and is persisting despite what governments claim. The loss of confidence has not fully set in yet for most people, but it is coming. You can feel it building beneath the surface. This is why gold and silver are not just moving higher. They are trying to tell us something. They are reflecting a reality that official statistics and government spokespersons will never acknowledge. They are showing us that smart money, the people who really understand how this works, are moving out of paper and into real assets. And here is something most people do not realize. When this shift accelerates, when the general public finally understands what is happening, it will already be too late to get positioned properly. Prices will spike. Availability will become a problem. The premiums on physical metal will explode as demand overwhelms supply. The time to act is now, while most people are still asleep. While you can still acquire gold and silver at relatively reasonable prices without having to fight crowds of panicked buyers. Let me be very clear about something. I am not fear-mongering. I am not trying to scare you into making rash decisions. Fear is actually the enemy of good decision-making. What I am trying to do is wake you up to reality, to help you see what the evidence is actually showing us rather than what we wish were true or what comfortable narratives tell us. The evidence shows that every major currency in history that was not backed by something real eventually failed. Every single one. The average lifespan of a fiat currency, a currency backed only by government decree, is less than 40 years. The US dollar has been a pure fiat currency since 1971. Do the math. We are already past the average lifespan. We are living on borrowed time with a monetary experiment that has never worked long-term in all of human history. But here is the paradox. Even knowing this, most people will do nothing. They will read these words. They will nod along. They will think it makes sense. And then they will go back to their normal lives and take no action whatsoever. Why? Because humans are wired to avoid change. We are wired to follow the crowd. We are wired to believe that disaster happens to other people in other places, but never to us. This is exactly why the wealthy stay wealthy and the poor stay poor. It is not about intelligence. Poor people are not stupid and rich people are not geniuses. It is about willingness to act on information. It is about having the courage to position yourself differently than the masses, even when that feels uncomfortable. The masses keep their wealth in currency and conventional investments because that is what everyone else does. The wealthy hold gold, silver, real estate businesses, commodities, and other real assets because they understand that paper is just paper. They understand that the game is rigged in favor of those who control the printing press. And they position themselves accordingly. You have an opportunity right now, an opportunity that will not last forever. You can choose to be part of the small percentage of people who prepare in advance, who understand what gold and silver are signaling, who take action while there is still time. Or you can choose to be part of the majority, who ignore the warnings and then act shocked when the crisis arrives. I want you to think about your family, your children, your future. What legacy are you going to leave them? Are you going to leave them paper currency that could become worthless, or are you going to leave them real wealth that has preserved value across centuries? Are you going to teach them to trust government promises? Or are you going to teach them to think independently and understand how money really works? These are not small questions. These are the questions that determine whether your family thrives or struggles across generations. And the decisions you make today, right now, in this moment, will echo forward into the future in ways you cannot fully predict. Let me leave you with one final thought. The greatest fortunes in history were not built by following the crowd. They were built by people who saw what was coming before everyone else, who had the courage to position themselves correctly, who understood that real wealth is not about having more currency. It is about having assets that hold their value when currencies fail. Gold and silver are giving you a signal right now, a clear, unmistakable signal that something fundamental is changing in our monetary system. The question is whether you are going to listen, whether you are going to act, whether you are going to be among the prepared few or the unprepared many. The choice is yours, but make no mistake, it is a choice. Doing nothing is a choice. Staying fully in paper assets is a choice, and that choice has consequences. History is very clear about what those consequences are, so educate yourself. Take action. Protect your wealth. Protect your family. And whatever you do, do not wait until everyone else figures it out, because by then, the opportunity to position yourself properly will have passed. The storm will already be here, and you will be forced to navigate it without the preparation that could have made all the difference. This is not about fear. This is about wisdom. This is about learning from history instead of repeating it. This is about understanding that the rules of money have not changed in 5,000 years. Real money always wins. Paper money always fails. And those who understand this simple truth are the ones who survive and thrive no matter what happens in the world around them. Thank you for listening. Now go take action